Hello and welcome to the 28th episode of This Week in Mappercraft. Last week was July 5th to the 11th, and we'll be covering the years of 2016, 2017, 2022, and 2025. As always, all information here can be found on the Mappercraft wiki, which is linked in the description, along with the server itself. Let's get into the years. First up, in 2016, the server was running World 4, hosted by Monsoon Jr. In 2017, the server was running World 6, hosted by Xenodyne. In 2022, the server was running World Redux, hosted by Top. And finally, in 2025, last year, the server was running Brave New World Revisited, hosted by me, MintyMichael. Let's get into it. And first up, we have just one event from July 5th to the 11th, 2016, during World 4. It was on the 6th when St. Pierre's Cathedral in La Rochelle was completed by Sikorsky. According to the quote, it was the tallest structure in North America at the time, and Sikorsky, Dan, started work on a modern section of the city afterwards. That was the only notable event from this week in 2016. So next up, we have 4 events from July 5th to the 11th, 2017 during World 6. First, on the 5th, the Aragon federal crisis occurred, almost throwing the nation into civil war. In the aftermath of the poor Aragon showing in the wars of both France and Russia last week, a civil conflict arose between 2 internal Aragon factions. One, led by the Kaiser of the nation, Extra, was composed of colonies and client states loyal to him, which sought to retain their autonomous status. The other, which was led by the nation's president, Scali, was made up of the primary Aragon homeland and supported further federalization and centralization of the outlying regions. So thus that was the primary conflict between the 2 groups. Additionally, the 3 duchies of Poland, Scandinavia, and Riga attempted to use the conflict to declare independence. The other 2 major powers in the world, the Pan-American Union and Starim, responded quickly. Starim declared neutrality and stationed troops on their border with Aragon. Concerned about the conflict spilling over, the anti-terrorism linkage operations of Starim, codenamed Atlos, was formed to maintain Starim's borders. The PAU at first supported Scali's faction, the presidential faction, although the state of Lapenia sent volunteers to fight for Polish independence specifically. Eventually, the PAU declared neutrality as well in order to avoid internal conflicts between the PAU's states. According to the quote, tensions eventually cooled and civil war was nearly avoided. The Aragon government went through a restructuring in order to appease both primary factions. The 3 ducal independence movements were handled, with Poland and Scandinavia voluntarily rejoining, and Riga surrendering after being invaded by an Aragon army. Poland in particular gained more autonomy and concessions from the central Aragon government. Following this highly tense period in Europe, on the 6th of July, the PAU was thrown into chaos when President TMG resigned in order to avoid being impeached. The crisis began when the governor of Palmino, T-Gamer, accused the president and vice president of inactivity and proposed impeachment to the Senate. President TMG responded by resigning, and Vice President Lieb resigned as well just a few minutes later. Thus, according to the quote, the Secretary of State, Solace, became the acting president and was rushed to be officially inaugurated just a few minutes before midnight at the King's Royal Estate. And the next day, on the 7th, Solace faced his first major challenge in the Zong conspiracy, which was a secret group who were planning on leaving their nations to make a new world power in East Asia. It was led by former PAU President TMG and member of Araga, Thunder, with most of the members being taken from the PAU. The conspiracy was uncovered by Batran and Matt, who promptly informed PAU leadership. According to the quote, Solace responded by aligning with Starim and formed a counter-terrorist unit to prevent the conspiracy from achieving its goals. This was successful, apparently, as Thunder disbanded the conspiracy shortly afterwards, and the nation of Zong was never created. The next day, on the 8th, long-term moderator Sikorsky was temporarily demoted for abusing his power to raid a player's secret base. He had apparently used spectator mode to teleport to players and discover secret bases, which were then later raided. Thus, according to the quote, he was banned for 3 days and temporarily demoted for an unknown period of time. But that marks the end for this week in 2017. Next up, we have 4 events from July 5th to the 11th of 2022 during World Redux. First, on the 8th, the Holy Empire of Kursk was formed out of a merger between the non-Holy Empire of Kursk, I guess, Ukraine, and Bogsu. This was a bit of a worldwide empire since each nation was relatively far from each other and kind of spanned over the whole world. Here's the limited quote about it. The next day, in response to this development, the Commonwealth of Greece was formed as a successor to the Commonwealth of America and Solace World II, being made out of a couple of different Greek nations. Mappercraft historians will remember that the original Commonwealth defeated and destroyed the original Kursk back in 2020, and the quote confirms that their flag was definitely just an edited version of the old Commonwealth flag, and that the nation formed in direct response to the new Kursk. And following this, unsurprisingly, on the same day, the Second Kurshite Commonwealth War kicked off when the nation of Outback declared war on Kursk for religious reasons, apparently. The new Commonwealth promptly volunteered for Outback in droves, while Kursk started to break down internally. Both the Free State of Southern Comfort and Ukraine seceded, although the Commonwealth quickly moved to isolate them internationally, forcing Southern Comfort to give up their former Kursk land. Actual war activity was apparently very limited, with the nations of Korea and Atlantis eventually also seceding from Kursk. According to the quote, this left the nation with only one member, Supahunk, who decided to surrender to the Commonwealth instead of Outback, because he didn't like them, I guess. The Commonwealth annexed all remaining Kursk land and held onto it for only 2 days before unclaiming most of it, and reorganizing themselves back into the nations of Cyprus and Lesbos, I believe. Also on the 11th of July, that same day that they unclaimed a bunch of stuff, King Mickey Mouse I of Disney was assassinated, throwing the nation into turmoil. According to the quote, an interim government was put into place, ruled jointly by Pusillanimous and Irish Child, as apparently the heir Marcus Mouse was not fit to be king yet. I'm pretty sure this was all just kind of roleplay lore stuff. Nothing actually happened here in-game, but it's still entertaining to read and sort of think about as funny. But that marks the end for this week in 2022. And for the last slide, we have 4 events from July 5th to the 11th, 2025, last year during Brave New World Revisited. First, on the 6th, the Serenkra presidential election took place. According to the quote, Void Boss won, and they quickly moved to limit the power of the Earl is a god, who ran the election. Next, on the 7th, the World Trade Center in Cuba was officially completed and opened by its primary architect, Cat Miles. According to the quote, this occasion led to an attempted assassination on the Earl of Serenkra, certainly not a good omen for market success. Then, on the 9th, the second trial of Joel occurred. Unlike the first one, this didn't have a YouTube video, although there may be some unedited footage of it floating around somewhere. I certainly don't have it. He was accused of fly hacking and reach hacking. His lawyer was apparently Agnius06, but according to the quote, he lost and was sentenced to a 3-day ban and a 5-day imprisonment in a Cuban prison that they were going to build. Eventually, I will say Joel was actually banned by staff for hacking, although I don't remember if we had proof of that at this time. This was kind of a thing that players did on their own. Also on the 9th, Operation River Shield commenced when Aloha declared war on the nation of 7 Rivers with the support of the pirates. The nation was quickly invaded, and its leader, Pusillanimous, surrendered. According to the quote, the territory was annexed by Aloha. Later, Pusillanimous would actually be allowed to return to the area and reform and repair the damaged settlements. However, that will obviously be covered in a future episode since that didn't happen this week. But this marks the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and check out the server at the link in the description. As always, if you have any additional information about any of these events, leave a comment down below or go ahead and add it to the Mappercraft wiki. See you next week for July 12th to the 18th.